I'm a moron? Do you think I don't have a mind for I can't make, what the hell is America all about? You just said I'm a moron. That's what you just said to half of America, hey America, you're a moron. You can't think for yourself. That's why you need me, because I went to this elitist university called whatever, Columbia. I don't know where Rachel went to. And I know what's best.
Place your bets, because recently Patrick Bet David brought on a so-called woke guest and absolutely dismantled him. The poor guy clearly misjudged PBD, walking in as if it were just another routine talk show. But Patrick isn't your average host. He has a knack for spotting flimsy reasoning and tearing it apart piece by piece. His approach left no room for that guest's shallow talking points. Honestly, if this guy dares to show his face on another stage after that, it would be nothing short of shocking. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now, let's jump right into it.
Dressed in good faith by people who have some idea about how to determine that. I don't know the source of COVID.
Yeah,
these questions that become politicized, it seems ridiculous to me to have political debates about something that is a scientific question that people should address. And I'm agreeing that there should be investigations of all that.
By the way, Brett Baer, did you see the interview with Trump?
Yes, I saw excerpts.
Did you see that? Did you think he did a good job?
No. Did Brett Baer?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Brett Baer did a very good job.
I agree. I think Brett Baer did a great job. And you know how he said, this person got fired. That person got fired. This person got fired. Why do you not have a good, hire? So he asked a tough question. And then, hey, why is it that you're keeping on to it? They were trying to get it from me. Well, I wanted to first make sure. Okay, so guess what? People want to know. Great. But people want to also know with the Corvette back and with the notes, what you had there is mobile. People want to know.
The exchange kicked off when the guest bluntly asked why anyone should even care about where COVID came from. Think about that for a second. How could we not care? In the early days of the outbreak, the public was spoon-fed the idea that the virus emerged from a wet market in Wuhan, jumping from animals to humans. But the moment questions about a possible lab leak started gaining traction, the Biden administration brushed it off as nothing more than a conspiracy. Fast forward a few years, and the evidence piling up is harder and harder to dismiss. The most plausible explanation points to a careless leak from a Wuhan lab that was, in fact, receiving U.S. funding. Demanding clarity about the true origin of a crisis that shattered economies and disrupted millions of lives isn't just fair, it's essential. That's when the discussion really started to heat up.
All I'm saying to you is, people want to know. We want to know what's behind the truth. The comment about the fact that I'm not an I'm not this, I'm not that, I totally get it. The element of that approach, when you say something like, well, you're not the expert in this and you're not the expert in that, there is a very clear, pompous, elitist message behind that. Just like this week when MSNBC and CNN, well, we know the president is talking right now, Jake Tapper and Rachel Maddow, but we know the president's talking, but we are not going to let him have any airtime, and we're going to update you on whatever he says that's necessary, because we know he's going to tell lies. I'm sorry. Do you think I'm a moron? Do you think I don't have a mind for I can't make, what the hell is America all about? You just said I'm a moron.
Patrick's presence is impossible to miss, and you can sense David getting uneasy. Honestly, who could blame him? Agree or disagree, I'm tired of hearing the recycled excuses for staying silent. The classic line goes, you can't comment unless you're an expert. Really? Last I checked, I'm perfectly capable of telling the difference between basic common sense and manufactured spin. I don't need a lecture from self-anointed liberal elites who act as if they alone are the gatekeepers of truth. We've seen this play before. How many times have networks like CNN and MSNBC tried to dictate not just what to think, but when and how to think it? They wrap their narratives in the word facts, all while peddling distortions they hope no one will challenge. But people are catching on. The curtain is lifting. We're questioning the outrage they manufacture, exposing the stories they stage, and pushing the tough questions they'd rather bury. Patrick simply voiced what millions already feel: don't insult our intelligence.
To half of America, hey America, you're a moron. You can't think for yourself. That's why you need me, because I went to this elitist university called whatever, Columbia. I don't know where Rachel went to. And I know what's best for you. Guess what? I don't like that. It's my lefty run. There's a reason why we don't live in Iran for 10 years. 10 years old when I lived in Iran, we went to Germany at a refugee camp for 2 years. Then we came to America because I want me to make the stupid decision on who I vote for, not you. Let me make the stupid decision of voting for Biden or Trump. There's a part of that where when we say, I'm not the expert, you're not this, well, no, you're a smart guy. That's why you're here. You're not a regular schlep off the street that doesn't know what. You've been involved in a lot of different things I investigated. All I'm saying is, for us to take the approach as well to say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have this. You don't know what you're talking about. No, we're here because we don't know everything. But we're here to question things and say, this kind of sounds a little fishy. Don't you want to know about it? I do. Well, no, let's just live in the future. Forget about the past. No.
America stands among the greatest nations for a reason. We are free to think for ourselves. Freedom of thought isn't some optional luxury. It's the very foundation of this country. Around the world, countless nations don't grant their people that same independence. That's why we shouldn't waste time listening to self-righteous lectures from voices like Rachel Maddow. Their track record for sound judgment is hardly inspiring. What matters is evidence. Just look at the chaos created by Kamala Harris's disastrous handling of the border. That so-called leadership was nothing but failure. We've all witnessed the empty bravado, the endless streams of word salad, and the awkward laughter that substitutes for real answers. And let's not forget the years of reckless experiments this nation was forced to endure, moments most Americans would rather erase from memory. What makes America strong is not the hollow slogans of floundering elites, but the unwavering freedom of thought that allows people to question, challenge, and demand better.
Don't have, tests to determine whether you're entitled to express an opinion on a subject. Well, the only point I was making was there are certain scientific questions, like the source of COVID, that it really does require some considerable expertise in the subject in order to have a reasonable opinion about it. That's the only point I was making, and I'm not saying that what is more than legitimate is you or Vinny or anybody saying we need an investigation.
What on earth was this guy even talking about? According to him, before we can question where COVID came from, we need some advanced science degree. Give me a break. Since when was a PhD in virology the entry ticket to raising valid concerns about a pandemic that upended the entire world? That's the beauty of free speech. People have the right to challenge official stories, demand accountability, and ask questions that don't add up. You don't need to wear a lab coat to recognize when something smells off, and in this case, it clearly does. That's why Patrick Bet David tore the guest's flimsy logic to shreds right in front of everyone. But instead of admitting defeat, owning his mistake, or even pausing to reflect, the man doubled down and delivered one of the weakest responses imaginable. Honestly, it was painful to watch. The harder he tried, the worse it got. Patrick didn't just debate him, he completely dismantled him.
Question of what the source of COVID is, I want to rely on people who know something.
And who's leading that investigation?
Yeah, exactly. Who is? I don't know.
That's my fucking point.
I couldn't even tell you who this guy was, and honestly, that raises an even bigger question. Who exactly is responsible for investigating the origins of COVID? Because time and again, the so-called experts have proven themselves unreliable. Just look back at the Fauci era. The last time Americans placed blind trust in him, we were fed contradictions, half-baked data, and conclusions that later crumbled under scrutiny. One day, masks were essential, the next day, not. The lab leak theory, brushed aside as a conspiracy until mounting evidence forced it back into the conversation. None of that chaos was accidental. It was driven by those in power who wanted to control the narrative. And fearing political fallout, President Biden essentially gave Trump a free pass by hiding behind Fauci's disastrous handling. Now we're expected to lean on the same circle of experts for clarity on COVID's origins? Sorry, but Americans demand a much higher standard than that.
To get laptops and leaks and this and that.
No.
But something that shut down the world for 2.5 years, now investigate. What is happening?
Adam, China runs, bro. If China could fly spy balloons over our entire country, over nuke bases, and nothing happens, nobody's investigating shit. But here's my thing.
Which is absurd.
No, here's my thing, Jeff. And I'm not an expert. Nobody in here knows shit about epidemiology, right? But guess what? It doesn't help when the experts were trying to talk and the government was silencing them. When Peter McCullough was trying to talk, when Robert Malone was trying to talk, they banned them on YouTube. They took them off Twitter. How do we even have a chance? How am I supposed to learn from the experts when they were shut down and now it's years later and now we're like, oh, it's old news?
Here's the heart of the matter. Those so-called experts are only celebrated when they fall in line with the left's narrative. The pattern is obvious. Competence and research are praised only when the conclusions match their agenda. But the second someone dares to present evidence, data, or reasoning that challenges their carefully crafted storyline, the labels start flying. Extremist, dangerous, conspiracy theorist. Then comes the cancel culture machine, not to encourage debate, but to crush it. Why? Because truth isn't their priority, power is. Controlling the story means controlling how people see the world. And once perception is managed, behavior becomes easy to influence. That's why dissenting voices are silenced and opposing experts shoved aside. Facts and transparency take a back seat. The mission is simple: guard their version of reality at all costs and make sure no alternative is allowed to hold them accountable.
That's why I had the thing with Joe Rogan. He wants to have that debate with the bring a scientist.
You following that story?
I am.
So
what do you think about that?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, I actually am sympathetic. You know, if you want to have a scientific debate, have two scientists debate it, not Joe Rogan against some scientist.
He doesn't want to do that either, though.
RFK.
But Hotez doesn't even want to debate two expert scientists that are on the opposing side. I understand the argument you're saying, like, why should he debate RFK? RFK is not fine. Okay, that's a reasonable argument.
Here's the call to action. Joe Rogan represents the kind of common sense most people still have. He doesn't need a degree in epidemiology to recognize which experts are speaking honestly and which ones are pushing an agenda. That's Rogan's strength. He doesn't pretend to hold all the answers. Instead, he creates a space where competing voices can go head to head. One guest may make bold claims, another may challenge them, and the audience gets to decide for themselves. It's open, unscripted, and real. And that's exactly why the left can't stand it. Something as simple as free discussion holds incredible power. Their constant effort to silence conservative experts makes it look like they're hiding something. After all, if the facts truly supported their side, why work so hard to block out the opposing view?
I mean, I'm not in that involved. I just having people who know something about it should debate, but you know, I shouldn't debate.
Of course. Well, Jeffrey, why do you
I don't know
think
anything about it?
America wants to see this debate, conversation, dialogue for sure? Whether it's RFK or Malone or McCulloch, and then versus a Fauci or Dr. Hotep, fill in the blank. In your non-expert legal opinion, why do you think this debate has not happened? Why has it not occurred yet here in America?
Well, it is happening. I mean, look, we're having this conversation.
No. None of us are experts. I'm talking experts.
There are scientific papers being published all the time.
That's not a debate. That's not a debate. No, it's not.
A debate.
Yeah, how many scientific papers have you read?
I haven't read it, but I mean,
nobody's reading.
Let's be honest, nobody's going to sit down and read through pages of jargon-filled studies. That's the real issue here. The so-called left-wing experts are terrified of being challenged in plain sight. Sure, they can impress each other by hiding behind dense academic papers, but deep down, they know their carefully crafted story would collapse if put under open, honest scrutiny. And where does that leave the average American? Most people don't have the time or the specialized training to sift through technical data and separate truth from manipulation. And that's exactly the point. By keeping the conversation locked inside elite circles, they hold on to their authority. But the truth doesn't need to be buried under footnotes and complicated terms. What's needed is straightforward debate, each side presenting its case clearly without spin, then let the American people decide which argument stands strongest. Americans are tired of being talked down to by so-called experts and elite media figures who pretend they have all the answers.
Visualize and see.
You're saying like,
just like
doctors debating with a camera on? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, yeah, like a debate.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
not scientific
Fauci
papers.
Fauci Malone.
Not scientific papers.
I think you will. There will be, given the level of interest in it, there will be plenty more discussion on this subject among people who know.
People are starting to weigh the facts against the narrative, and the cracks are showing. We've seen what happens when networks like CNN and MSNBC or figures like Fauci are taken at face value. Confusion, contradictions, and cover-ups. The left has mastered the art of controlling information, silencing dissenting experts, labeling opposing views, and shutting down open debate. But here's the reality. Americans don't need a degree to recognize when something doesn't add up. We value open conversations over one-sided lectures and transparency over censorship. That's why platforms like Joe Rogan's and Patrick Bet-David's resonate so strongly. They bring every perspective to the table, and that terrifies those clinging to control, because once the narrative collapses, their power goes with it. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button and subscribe for more sharp political commentary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.